Has the market changed its mind about what the Fed may do next?
We have got to get inflation behind us. I wish there were a painless way to do that. There isn't.
Think of that number, and maybe more importantly, what do you think the Fed's going to do, and therefore what their equity is going to do?
I've been saying over and over again to my colleagues here that he wants your portfolio down so that you won't be able to spend as much.
All right, welcome to Financial Stockholm, and this is Friday, October 14th, and our views on what we're seeing in the Scandinavian markets. I'm Christopher Crystal, and so the Swedish press right now is primarily focused on the Swedish government, and we look like we're going to have some sort of coalition moving forward within the time frame allotted. They tried to present themselves in a kind of unified coalition this morning in a press conference to show that things are moving along and they've worked out some of their differences, and that we'll have a constructive government going forward. But I think there'll be a lot of focus on this. And so we'll see also in the news more focus on, in Sweden anyway, on what we're experiencing here. So you have the drug war violence, you have things like transportation, the infrastructure, you have the increased food cost, electricity cost, the overall household economies. On a bright point on that, we did get news from the Finance Inspection today about the amortization rates and what levels people will have to pay and what they'll have to put in for or have in the mortgage, because they would, if they made the change to have a higher level, then they would see many people becoming homeless in Sweden. We currently have around 33,000, if I'm not mistaken, and so putting away the issue of the mortgage rate and the mortgage issue is seen as a positive. We did have a positive yesterday in the markets, and we see a positive open today, but we'll see how long this continues because we don't still have the fundamental core shift change. So the electricity cost is still high, and we will have, according to comments we had from Stefan Ingves, our central banker here, the Swedish central bank, saying that he was going to be hiking until February. So we may get some more rate hikes. We'll see. Unfortunately, we still do not see any de-escalation of what's going on in Ukraine and the war between Ukraine and Russia. We see increased attacks. We see less of the rhetoric, though, about nuclear war. Macron came out and said that they would not hit Russia with nukes if Russia used nukes in Ukraine. And that is significant. You did have Biden in his State of the Union address toning down the previous volume from saying things like we have to replace Putin, and also saying that they would use or go to nuclear Armageddon. But that's so no real sign of a change in the front there or the sea change that we need. But so looking here locally in Sweden, our famed medical institute, the Karolinska, is getting a corruption scandal, and this is tied to a German company based out of Munich called BrainLab, which was functioning in a consulting capacity. So there'll be some turnover there, but overall the healthcare sector still looks relatively good. And I think although you had changes in risk premia, you do still have the understanding by many of the investors that these are based on tests that they're coming up with to get passed through trials and have the data out there to release new drugs. So that I don't think anything fundamentally has changed there, except for the risk premia, and you've of course had adjustments. But if you look again at the household consumer cost, and we've seen this exploding everywhere, including Finland, you have an event occurring in the United States that may give an indication of what you'll see here in Europe. So probably the largest food chains that people think about if you're in Germany would be something like Lidl and Aldi. Those are still family held or privately held, and they operate here in Sweden as well, but our primary supermarket chain is ICA. Then we have another one called Coop, and you have some other smaller family-owned companies called City Gross and so forth. So we're not sure how this merger news in the United States between Kroger and Albertsons would affect our market, but they're merging because of cost and the food cost, and trying to squeeze and get better margins. So that may give some impetus here to our market, but nothing really seen initially. And we'll keep watching and giving you an update, but that's really what we have for today. So we wish you a great weekend and happy hunting in the market. Thank you very much for your time.